Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and today I wanted to give you the short version of the ATV that took place yesterday featuring Tony Zurovec and Francesco Raccucci, focusing mostly on the AI in the game and subsumption. Now this is going to be a little longer than others that I've done based on the amount of information that was provided. Now prior to getting to that, let's go ahead and talk through a few other updates that were mentioned, including the Misk Razor being in white box stage and being worked on by Joe Naval, which means that this ship is moving along a little bit faster than I expected it to, but it's probably a good indication of the new ship pipeline picking up efficiencies as they go through it. The Herald and the Cat are also going through some polish and optimization, including damage states and explosions. The team is also working on surface outposts to give us different locations to explore on planets, and the designers are starting to place them. They sort of look pretty cubish and capable of being pieced together in different formats, but they look really good overall. The AI interview had some really important and nice information that was provided, and we find out that they're almost done with their first pass on the functionality of the framework, but now they need to work with the animation and designers to put them all together into place. Missions are going to be much more numerous than what we see today, where we have, I think, 17 different missions, and they're going to be a lot more diverse. Instead of locations always being at the same place and providing the same things happening at that location, a good example would be like the derelict ship always at the same place. They're going to be different. Sometimes the distress beacon is going to be legit. Other times it may be an ambush. Sometimes it may be somebody that's in need of medical attention and not combat help. There's a lot of different ways that it can all take place. But the overall goal is to take a single framework and turn it into multiple different experiences. One thing that's helping them get to this point is that the large missions are actually composed of multiple smaller missions, almost like checkpoints. And the background of those smaller missions means that they can apply to different scenarios to help them move through quicker as far as the development is concerned. For example, if you go and track down this guy on a submission, it could be an info running mission or a bounty hunting mission or a piracy mission, but it all uses the same background format to build off of. That's all going to be one of the first places that we see subsumption that's actually involved is going to be the mission system. But there is still work to be done, and that's what they're working on today. They are working on things like animation because you want the NPC to look like the behavior is as smart as the programming behind them. So basically, you don't want them running into things or missing what they're grabbing for. We'll see some of this in 3.0, especially with NPC behavior, because it's going to be a big part of making landing zones feel alive. AI should be running around trying to accomplish their own tasks, or even in like FPS combat, for example, they should be ready to run for cover, slide into cover, and make kind of smart moves and decisions that seem human-like. AI on multi-cruise ships are going to be separate to where they have their own behavior. So it's not the ship overall has this overarching artificial intelligence to it. It's the characters that are on board which have their own personality and their own states, which also means that it will be better and easier for players to get in and integrate however necessary. So, for example, if you get on board a ship and you kill the pilot, which is an AI, the ship isn't going to just keep flying because it has its own AI. The AI that was flying the ship is now gone, so the ship's not going to keep going. There's going to be an ability to actually purchase in-game modules that are going to let you assign to certain roles on the ship instead of needing an actual NPC. Good examples could be like a medical officer or potentially things like turret operators. Basically, it becomes a small computer that does the work instead of a crew member. That's pretty exciting, and it's going to be interesting to see how the module compares to an NPC or a real player as far as overall effectiveness. Now, there's been a lot of questions regarding the skill of NPCs versus an all-human crew, and we find out that a lot of it's going to come down to player skill. If you have a really high-level player, it may be better than an NPC, but not necessarily. If you pay for a high-level NPC, they're probably going to be better than mid-range players, but it would be really costly to do that. Most likely what we're going to see is that players are going to, do what they have interest in or, have a high skill cap in. So you may have someone who's a really good engineer and fills that role on the ship, but no one may be a capable turret gunner, so you get an NPC that can do that for you. It's really kind of coming down to player choice. But either way, it's pretty clear that your choices here are going to be really important to your overall success in the verse. Now, when asked about larger ships and, what could be an exclusive AI crew as far as the max size, there wasn't a real answer there, like this is the biggest ship you can fly with AI only. But they did state that you could go larger, or I guess you can go with a larger, cheap, less effective crew, or you could potentially have a more expensive, smaller crew of really qualified NPCs. So there aren't just flat-out limits based on your ship size. So, for example, on let's just say a Constellation, you could maybe get away with one AI that's really, really talented, or if you don't want to spend that much, you could, rent 2 or 3 of them, whatever it may be. A low-level NPC on a high-complication station is probably going to end up making bad decisions based on stress, like a real person would be if they're not qualified to take on a role, and it results on bad things happening for your ships. Regardless, the goal they're trying to accomplish is to make all of the relationships in-game, including with AI, be something that persists, and you end up with different experiences as a result. Good personal interactions with an NPC mean that they're more comfortable with you, and they're going to act differently around you than if you've had bad situations with them. You're also going to have to continue to work with a certain community if you want to keep up your reputation there. And if you move away from that, you're likely going to end up moving back towards a baseline. So if you're working with a mining corps, if you're not doing work for them for a while, you're probably going to go back and be treated like an outsider at that point. They want the interactions with the NPCs and the communities of NPCs in the game to be something that's meaningful and lasting and that you can sense, based on your interactions. So that's the gist. It's a bit longer than some of my usual summaries, but we did get a lot of really good information and we kind of covered the topics. So if you have questions, please get them in. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys watching. Have yourselves a wonderful day and take care.